This is Baja California, a remote and forbidding land of desert and ocean. Wildlife has adapted to the harsh conditions, but now development threatens this area, and researchers need to know exactly what lives here and how before it's too late. I'm Eric Niiler, and I'm joining a team of scientists. We're spending the next 10 days learning more about the unusual plants and animals that call this part of Baja California home. We camped at a beach just south of Laredo. Now we're going to head 100 miles down the Sea of Cortez. It's a big job getting all the gear for 30 scientists and helpers ready to go. This binational expedition is led by the San Diego Natural History Museum in cooperation with several universities in Mexico. There are people here who study snakes, insects, plants, and even the tiny lichens that grow on rocks. Everyone's on board.
So you're saying it's just a wait-and-see type of thing? Over?
Not many people are used to traveling with this many people. We're usually pretty much individualists, tight-knit groups of researchers. So we're moving sort of in a controlled chaos of putting everybody forward. But once we get everything set up and we get into our research mode, I'm hoping to find some really unique habitats. These mountains have a lot of deeply incised crevices and arroyos, and we're looking for some really wet areas that hold some unusual type of things.
There's another one in the middle of them too.
Yeah.
That's not as high. Where we're going to the south here in the corridor is most of these canyons and most of the ranges have not been looked at all. So this will be totally new territory to get in and hopefully encounter some new species.
You can see behind me the rugged peaks of the Sierra de la Giganta. Around us are islands that are home to lizards, cactus, and strange kinds of sun-loving creatures. The water below is teeming with marine life. We're going to explore the unique environment where the mountains meet the Sea of Cortez. The Baja California Peninsula stretches nearly 800 miles from the U.S. border to its tip at Cabo San Lucas. We're headed to Mission Dolores, an outpost on the Sea of Cortez. While the ocean seems calm, a storm has kicked up a good swell. That's made landing the small panga boats a bit dicey. We pull into a sheltered cove about a mile from our campsite. There's gear for more than 30 scientists. Everyone pitches in.
This coastline is just so hard to get to. When you look out into the distance and see these islands behind us, many of these islands are better explored than this coastline is here.
Nobody's been collecting here, so that's the pioneer putting your flag. For a biologist, I think it's pretty great. It's like a great lab. You have a lot of different climates. You have the desert, you have the Sierra, you have places like this that's more tropical.
I kind of fell into Baja California studies because it's really an unknown area and it needs a lot of work still.
This is different because this is binational expedition, which is a very nice thing. It's a good experience because you interact with a lot of people with different specialties.
I get to see all these snakes I've never seen before. I'm learning about endemic plants that I probably in the past would have just walked right by.
In this day and age, We become so specialized and we know a whole lot about very little that this gives us an opportunity to cross those boundaries to other disciplines. We're out there with entomologists and herpetologists, and it's a very rare situation or event these days that you get all of these different kinds of scientists in one place at one time. A little tiny lizard.
Little baby lizard. They hatch this time of year. There he is.
Am I the location?
John's tent.
I learn about the reptiles and the amphibians, and I learn about the insects. I hope that this is something that continues, that gives us that extra edge on the ecological part of science. Peninsularis had the glands all over.
Okay.
In this case, we have a lot of support, basic support. We don't have to cook our meals or take care of some other basic needs. This expedition gives you more time to write, observe, photograph specimens, process them better, and more time to do field work.
Collecting specimens is really more like a treasure hunt than a job. Everyone's looking in the nearby foothills. Some find life hiding in the pools of water that form along a narrow canyon.
Basically what I'd like to do is I'd like to sample several populations of this one species all across the peninsula here in Baja. People would know them by either saucer bugs or creeping water bugs. And I would take each one of those populations and I'd like to look at their genome, just one gene in their DNA called cytochrome oxidase 1. I want to see if the DNA from one population is quite different from the DNA of another population, because what that's going to let me make the argument of is that each one of these desert springs and oases is quite specialized and quite unique.
Maggie's research focuses on insects that most of us will never see. Brad Hollingsworth looks for creatures that most of us would rather avoid.
We're taking only a small fraction of what we see and what is here. And those specimens will go into museums, and scientists from around the world will be able to study them. You can't just say that's a particular species. Many of these animals have to be taken back into the laboratory.
For Brad, the goal of the trip is to precisely identify how much biological diversity is really here.
Really quantifying it will be the key to convincing these big conservation groups to come in and say, this is worth our money.
Fieldwork can be physically demanding. One team expects to find some unusual creatures at a newly formed lake about 1,500 feet above sea level. A hurricane recently dumped several inches of water on a dry lake bed and rejuvenated a dormant habitat. No scientists have ever been up there before, so for us, it's a big prize. It's not easy to get there. The trail winds through the foothills of the Sierra de la Giganta Mountains. Everyone is thirsty and tired, but the views are worth it.
To be able to go to one of these mountaintops and look out across for miles and miles and miles, actually as far as the eye can see, and not see another ranch or another city or any sort of human development is fantastic.
Research assistant Bob Hill finds specimens along the trail, like this frisky tarantula.
Good job. Fantastic, Bob.
Tarantula in a bottle.
Yeah. Excellent.
The lake has got to be close, but over every ridgetop we see more mountains. There's no shade, and the path goes straight up. Then, finally,
We made it.
it's taken 5 hours of tough hiking to get from our base camp all the way to this freshwater lake. Now, as you can see behind me, the water is much higher than its normal level. In fact, it'll take 2 years for it to shrink back to normal. Now, the researchers are trying to understand how the plants and animals here have adapted to this ephemeral aquatic environment.
Ooh, that's a little baby. All right.
The lake is full of aquatic insects and freshwater shrimp. This hurricane-fed ecosystem is a new discovery. Even after a long day in the field, some researchers head out again at night.
We're looking for nocturnal animals, so animals that specialize in coming out at night to eat the other things that come out at night.
The rattlesnakes are the big predators in the reptiles, so they're always looking for especially mice at night time.
Like snakes, scorpions are nocturnal hunters. They catch insects and small lizards with their front pinchers and sting them with a poisonous tail.
They can pinch.
What?
Snake right here. I think it's a rattlesnake.
Look how dark he is.
Really dark. I thought it was
Wow.
like a diamondback.
This is a very unusual color pattern.
They've caught a Crotalus ruber. That's a red diamond rattlesnake. But for some reason, its markings are almost black.
Yeah, this is definitely a ruber. It's just really, really dark. Something like this could be easily interpreted as a different species, a rattlesnake. It really takes a detailed analysis of the animal to make sure that it isn't something new. Everything gets a GPS mark these days.
All right.
Later, scientists hunker down in their tents. They identify and prepare each animal or plant to become a museum specimen. This is grunt work, but it's also where new understanding begins. We're here at base camp under a thick grove of palm trees. After a day collecting in the nearby mountains and fields, David Faulkner is preparing his insects. Now, David, some people would say killing animals is no way to protect them. But I noticed all the scientists are catching the animals and preparing them. How do you respond to criticism like that?
The main thing is that there's absolutely no impact on their populations by collecting adult insects. It's been shown in various studies that you can take a lot of insects out of an area, you go back the next year, you've got the same number. So it really doesn't have much impact. What does have impact is when you have some sort of habitat modification, change, degradation of an area, or just change over time where the things can no longer survive, or they survive on the periphery.
These goats look cute, but they eat everything in their path, including rare and endangered plants. We've just hiked about 3 miles from our campsite down at the beach, up a steep canyon to the ruins of this old Jesuit mission. They built this outpost in 1720, and for about 40 years they grew wheat, raised horses, and made wine from grapes. The Jesuits left here in the late 1700s, but parts of their water irrigation system are still being used today. The Jesuits built their mission here because of the water. Now, insects and small fish live in these pools, and some people have talked about seeing a giant water bug.
I've gotten basically this size bug crawl out of the water and, take a rest or something and then crawl back into the water. So it was definitely an aquatic insect. That's quite a mystery, and I'd like to know more about that.
1, 2, 3.
Getting around the Baja coastline takes some heave-ho, especially when the surf kicks up. You've got to time it just right. One team takes the Pongas to an unexplored canyon south of base camp. Botanist John Redman wants to check out the sea cliffs. He thinks he may find some rare flowers on the steep walls. Back at base camp, Maggie and Carlos set off to find the mystery bug.
We'll be looking for some elusive insects that people have been describing that we're sort of mystified about at this point. Something that's like 3 or 4 inches in length, a large oval creature that was spotted by several people yesterday. We have no idea what that is, so, we'll be trying to solve some mysteries as well.
As soon as the guy gets the water out of the ponga, they're gonna attempt it. But you guys be really careful. I don't know if you saw, but we almost swamped the boat there.
The landing is a bit scary. The first boat nearly capsized on the rocky beach, so the second crew backs in slowly, trying not to make the same mistake.
Okay, here we go.
There's lots of scientific equipment that has to be kept high and dry.
Not going anywhere. We're stuck here.
We're stuck here. Ration your food.
It's really steep. How are you going to attack this?
Well, I want to do some of the hillside here first, right near the ocean. Just see what's on this north-facing slope and then start heading up the canyon, looking as we go.
John becomes a human mountain goat, scrambling up the cliff face in search of rare plants.
Same one, Phacelia scariosa. Huh. Here's a barrel with flowers.
He finds a barrel cactus that has evolved to live with a particular kind of ant.
Look at the ants coming out. They are not happy with me. See, these guys are ferocious. These are the guys that they bite and sting at the same time.
Tiny glands on the cactus produce a sweet nectar for the ants. In turn, the ants pollinate the cactus and keep away other insect predators.
Planta está produciendo azúcar para las hormigas.
This cliff faces north, right into the ocean, and the plants here cling tightly to life. The botany team believes they may have found one flower that actually plants its own seedling right into the cliff face.
I found one of the Euchneritonellas, so we're looking for it.
So you already found one?
But I didn't collect it, there was only one.
Okay.
I think we should find it further up on the cliff walls here.
All right.
Back at the pool, Maggie and Carlos have cornered the giant bug.
I think he can crawl out of there. Oh my God. Yeah, that's what it was. Look at this.
Who said insects were little? Huh?
Yeah, exactly. Look at that. That looks like a female then, because she's got this ovipositor at the back, and the females are larger. Don't stay in there. Oh God, don't get out. Wow. Look at that thing. It's like about as big as this whole palm. Oh, God, sorry. She grabbed me. She's got these little hook feet, tarsi on the end of her legs. You can see her beak, that long beak. It's hard to see, but it's right in there. Wow. That is a huge bug. That's the bug of the trip right there.
Yeah.
That is the bug of the trip.
You guys want to stay up on top here, we'll keep doing that. I'll just swing down around some of these cliffs real quick, but just stay to the top and keep moving up.
John, what is this?
This is Nidosculus palmeri. It's in the spurge family, but you have to be very careful near this plant because you can see these long hairs coming off the leaves. They're actually like hypodermic needles, so they break off and it actually injects a little fluid and it causes a burn. I don't see any of the little cliff dweller here yet.
As we get our footing on the cliff, John takes off up the hill. He really wants to bring home the flower that plants its own seed. Finally, way up on a tiny ledge, John finds his elusive little flower.
It's a very rare endemic species just for this area called Euchniditenella. And before this expedition, it was really only known from one or maybe two collections in history. It is a little annual plant that lives right on the vertical cliff wall. It has a really short pedicel when it's flowering, this little stalk, the flower stalk, and it sticks it out away from the wall to get pollinated. Then after pollination, when the flower is turning into a fruit, it actually curves back, and you can see this, the pedicel here, the stalk elongates, and all of the fruits then get pushed back into the cracks along the wall.
The discoveries made today are small advances in natural history. I'm just a visitor, but now I understand a bit of what makes this place so special. Soon the scientists will leave here, bringing home new information that will keep them busy for years. They believe a binational effort is the only way to protect the natural wealth of Baja California.
I didn't know what to expect, but it's been terrific. It's very interesting to learn because you have to learn a little bit from everybody, and that's been pretty interesting.
And I think it's very important that we be able to continue doing this kind of binational cooperation because, I mean, we're neighbors and we share biodiversity.
You think about the big conservation groups throughout the world, people are asking them to put millions and millions of dollars into the conservation and management of this region. And they aren't going to make those decisions just at a whim. They're going to need to really know what they're paying for. This is just the initial effort, but based on that preliminary data, I think we can say that this is a very diverse area.
Who knows what the economic value of many of these plant species may be, whether they're medicine of the future or they're foods for the future.
Well, Baja California for me is it's like a great island, and we need to protect it because it's a great place and it's still not altered from humans, so we should keep it that way. In the future, I would like to put my little contribution, my little contribution to the place where I grew up. Yeah, that would be nice.
What do the local people call this plant?
Mala mujer, the bad woman.
Why is that?
I'm like the bug bait of camp. You know, that's my function on the trip.
It's a new person on the trip. We have a little initiation test. Put your hand out. You gotta try it at least once.
No, gracias.
It's not that bad. Just at the top of your thing. You feel it?
Yeah.
It's a slow burn. Then it gets so bad that you'll be crying like a little girl.
Stop it. Where is it? Can somebody grab a frog from my bag?